My name is Tabitha Gabrielle, and today I'm doing the first recent reads of 2025. I have 9 books that I'm going to be telling you about today, all of which I read between January up until late March. I rarely read more than 10 books over the course of 3 months. So that's just how it be right now. And maybe I'll get faster and maybe I'll put out more of these. But as of now, it's looking like I'll probably do kind of a quarterly timeline schedule for this type of format of video, if that makes sense. I went ahead and went on to Goodreads and got the description for each book and put it over here on my laptop. So if you see me looking over here, that's what I'm doing. Also, I'm outside and there are wasps everywhere. So if at any point I scream and duck and run back inside, that would be why, because there's currently one just bobbing around over the top of my head. Okay, now he's flying away. Okay, we're good now. The very first book that I'm going to be telling y'all about today is called The Beekeeper, Rescuing the Stolen Women of Iraq. And this is by Dunya, Mikhail. I think I'm saying her name correctly. It's a book that I've owned for a few years now, and it's got a very poetic style to it, which makes sense because Dunya is a poet, and so that really comes across in her writing. So the write-up for this book is: since 2014, Daesh, or ISIS, has been brutalizing the Yazidi people of northern Iraq, sowing destruction, killing those who won't convert to Islam, and enslaving young girls and women. The Beekeeper, by acclaimed poet and journalist Dunya Mikhail, tells the harrowing stories of several women who managed to escape the clutches of ISIS. Mikhail extensively interviews these women who've lost their families and loved ones, who've been sexually abused, psychologically tortured, and forced to manufacture chemical weapons. And as their tales unfold, an unlikely hero emerges, a beekeeper who uses his knowledge of the local terrain, along with a wide network of transporters, helpers, and former cigarette smugglers, to bring these women one by one through the war-torn landscape of Iraq, Syria, and Turkey back into safety. In the face of inhuman suffering, this powerful work of nonfiction offers a counterpoint to Daesh's genocidal extremism: hope, as ordinary people risk their own lives to save those of others. Just in general, I really, really like books like this. I would recommend, but definitely be aware of the subject material before you go into it, because it can be quite heavy. I'm gonna go ahead and put my Goodreads review up for this book. You can pause to read if you would like. The second book that I will be talking about today is The Captive Kingdom by Jennifer A. Nielsen. This is the 4th book in her series that centers around Jaren and friends. And yeah, I feel like I can't really say much about this book because it is the 4th in the series, and I can't talk about it without there being spoilers. Just know there is ships, they're sailing the high seas, they are defeating pirates, and yeah, there are a few twists and turns, as per usual in Jennifer A. Nielsen's books, that I was not expecting. I'll go ahead and read you the Goodreads description for it. In peaceful Carthia, Jaren leads as the Ascendant King with Imogen beside him. I never can tell if I'm saying Imogen correctly. I think that's how you say it. It feels weird coming out of my mouth, but Imogen, right? Right? I need someone to verify that that is correct. Jaren leads as the Ascendant King with Imogen beside him, but the peace he fought for so long is not destined to last. On a routine sea voyage, Jaren's ship is brutally attacked and he is taken hostage. The mysterious captors and their leader, Jane Strick, accuse Jaren of unthinkable acts. They are also in possession of some shocking items, including the crown and sword that belonged to Jaren's older brother, Darius. The items unearth a past that Jaren thought he had put behind him. Though it seems impossible, Jaren must consider, could Darius be alive? And what does Strick want from Jaren? Against his will, Jaren will be pulled back into the fight for the throne and a battle to save his own kingdom. And like I said, I feel like if I say anything more about that, it is going to be spoilery. So I'll put my Goodreads review up. And just know I rated this a good 4.5 stars or 5 stars, or I don't remember honestly, but I really enjoyed it. Would recommend. The third book that I'm going to be talking about today is The Shattered Castle by Jennifer A. Nielsen. This is the 5th and final book in her series. Again, it's the 5th book, so what am I supposed to say about it other than all the drama happens. It was a fantastic time, and I would highly recommend. The Goodreads description for this book is: King Jaren has outwitted the Prezarians and has returned to his own kingdom with one secret in his pocket that not even his friends know about. He is hoping that secret will help him finally bring stability to Carthia. But a surprise attack on his own land, on the castle itself, reminds Jaren that nothing is easy. The Prezarian monarch threatens to crumble Jaren's entire kingdom, and that's not the only thing in danger. With old enemies and new rumors circling around him, even Jaren's relationship with Imogen is uncertain. This former false prince will need his best tricks and many allies at his side to hold Carthia together. So yeah, it's really good. I'm going to put my Goodreads review up. The only thing that I was disappointed about is that when I got to the end of this, I was like, it's over now. It's over now. What am I going to do? The fourth book that I'm going to talk about today is The Phoenix King by Aparna Verma. I think that's how you say her name. Okay, so I'm going to read you all the description. And there's a wasp. Sorry. As I was saying, I'm going to read you all the description, and then I'm going to chat about it a little bit, because I do have thoughts. Oh my God, stay away from me! I'm fine. Totally fine. Okay. The fate of a desert kingdom rests in the hands of a princess desperate for power, and an assassin with a dark secret. In this action-packed debut of fire magic and ancient prophecy from a stunning new voice in fantasy. The Ravani kingdom was born of a prophecy, carved from unforgiving desert sands and ruled by the Ravens bloodline, those with the power to command eternal fire. Alina Adya, the heir to the throne, and the only Ravens who cannot wield her family's legendary magic. As her coronation approaches, she will do whatever it takes to prove herself a worthy successor to her revered father. But she doesn't anticipate the arrival of Yasin Knight, the notorious assassin who now claims fealty to the throne. Alina's father may trust Yasin to be a member of her royal court, but she is certain that Yasin is hiding something. I discovered this book through a reel that the author posted on Instagram. This is a book that demonstrates feminine rage very well. And I can't tell you why, because I feel like it's a spoiler. This author was like very, very in depth with her world building, and there was a lot going on, and it was hard for me to keep up what was going on where, and it was hard for me to keep up with all the names that she mentioned. I listened to it on Audible, but I will say it probably took me a good 150 pages if I were to guess. Like a good halfway through the book before I was really invested. I would have a lot of questions, and I wasn't as much into the story because I was too focused on the questions that I had, where I was like, am I just dumb? Am I not understanding this world building? Or is there just a lot going on and there's a lot to juggle if you're reading this for the first time? It could have been a me problem. Who knows? Other people might not have had that problem with this book, but I certainly did. Content warnings, there is some violence mentioned, like heavy descriptions of people being burned alive and stuff like that. Like, it was a little intense in areas, but I honestly wasn't too bothered by it. Like, in the moment, I was like, ooh, that's gross. But, you know, it's nothing that stayed with me. I don't think I would necessarily recommend it for younger readers because of that, and there was a spy scene at the end. It also kind of felt unexpected because it was at the end, like probably the last few chapters of the book is where she threw in the spicy scene. So it kind of took me off guard a little bit. Like, I think the longing and the yearning aspect of this book could have easily transferred over into the second book, and I would have liked it even more. But yeah, she just had to throw that spicy scene in at the end. So yeah, I think I rated this at the end of the day like 3.5 or 4 stars. I don't remember, but it was good. It was good. It was a pretty solid fantasy, and now that I've invested so much time and energy into learning about the kingdom and all these different people and all these different places, I'm going to be reading the second book too. So yeah. The fifth book that I'm going to be telling y'all about today is Far from the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy. This is a classic, and I'm not sure what year it was written, but I'll put it on the screen for you. Let me read the description and then I'll give you my thoughts. Independent and spirited Bathsheba Everdeen has come to Weatherby to take up her position as a farmer on the largest estate in the area. Her bold presence draws 3 very different suitors. The gentleman, Farmer Boldwood, soldier seducer, Sergeant Troy, and the devoted shepherd, Gabriel Oak. Each, in contrasting ways, unsettles her decisions and complicates her life, and tragedy ensues, threatening her stability and the whole community. The first of his works in the fictionary country of Wessex, Hardy's novel of swift passion and slow courtship is imbued with his evocative descriptions of rural life and landscapes, with unflinching honesty about sexual relationships. Where do I even begin with this book? This book, I felt myself very into it whenever I was in Gabriel Oak's perspective. I really liked Gabriel Oak as a character. He's the farmer, the shepherd. But I really wanted to like Bathsheba as a character because she is portrayed as this strong, independent type of female character. And I really appreciate that, especially in classic kind of older novels. And I was sorely just displeased with her. Okay? Because, like, why is she the way that she is? Why does she make some of the decisions she makes? She's very childish at times. I didn't like that about her at all. However, I did really like Gabriel Oak. Okay, Gabriel Oak is the least dramatic of the three suitors. Mr. Boldwood and Sergeant Troy. Like, what on earth? Them two need to get their lives together. If you know, you know. We'll just leave it at that. I finished reading this book and then proceeded to watch the 2015 movie adaptation, which I thoroughly enjoyed. That was a really good book adaptation, in my honest opinion. So I would recommend the book if you're looking for a good dramatic classic. I would also recommend the movie if you're looking for a good period drama, because it puts the drama in period drama, honestly. I'll put my Goodreads review up on the screen for you. The sixth book that I read is another nonfiction memoir, and this is The House of My Mother, A Daughter's Quest for Freedom by Shari Franke, and I'll read the description for it. From eldest daughter Shari Franke, the shocking truth behind the viral 8 Passengers family vlog and the hidden abuse she suffered at the hands of her mother, and how in the face of unimaginable pain she found freedom and healing. Shari Franke's childhood was a constant battle for survival. Her mother, Ruby Franke, enforced a severe moral code while maintaining a facade of a picture-perfect family for their wildly popular YouTube channel 8 Passengers, which documented the day-to-day life of raising 6 children for a staggering 2.5 million subscribers. But a darker truth lurked beneath the surface. Ruby's wholesome online persona masked a more tyrannical parenting style than anyone could have ever imagined. As the family's YouTube notoriety grew, so did Ruby's delusions of righteousness. Fueled by the sadistic influence of a relationship coach, Jody Hildebrandt, together they implemented an inhumane and merciless disciplinary regime. Ruby and Jody were arrested in Utah in 2023 on multiple charges of aggravated child abuse. On that fateful day, Shari shared a photo online of a police car outside their home. Her caption had one word: finally. For the first time, Shari will reveal the disturbing truth behind 8 Passengers and her family's devastating involvement with Jody Hildebrandt's cultish lifestyle coaching program called Connections. No stone is left unturned as Shari exposes the perils of influencer culture and shares for the first time her battles with truth and survival in the face of her mother's cruelty. I actually followed the 8 Passengers family pretty closely when I was a younger teenager. It portrayed such a wholesome lifestyle, and I was like, oh, how sweet. I want that. She just really was very raw and real about the dangers of especially just online influencer culture and family vlogging, and how detrimental that can be toward the children that are in the situations. It kind of hit close to home for me because Shari is just a few years younger than I am, and I remember being 14, 15 and watching their channel, being where I am now and knowing what I know now after reading her book, and all the accusations that came out against her mother and just all the things that she endured. I just have a deep level of respect for Shari, and I think that this is an amazing book. I just realized my mic wasn't working for the last 8 minutes of video footage that I've had, so sorry about the weird background noises. I was saying about Shari that I'm just very proud of who she's become and who she's becoming. I think that she is a voice that more people should be listening to. I'm not saying that I feel like all family vloggers are inherently doing these things in the background, but it definitely changed how I view family vlogging in general, just hearing her perspective. Like, even if there hadn't been the abuse that had been going on in Shari's situation, the level of exposure that Ruby was giving her children online is just insane. I would 100% recommend this book, but just be aware of the topics that are discussed and potential triggering things that could be discussed in this book. The 7th book that I will be discussing today is called Nightshade by Autumn Woods. First of all, let me discuss. Autumn Woods, Miss Autumn Woods, is that your real name? Because if it is, your parents are geniuses. If not, I love your author name. It's fantastic. This is another book that I found because of an Instagram reel. And it was an Instagram reel where the author was talking about how her male main character had 6 sisters. And he was like the oldest and had 6 little younger sisters. And for whatever reason, that sold me on it. When Ophelia Winters accepts a scholarship at a prestigious Scottish university to prove that her parents' death was the fault of Cain Green, an American aviation tycoon, her plan is simple. Keep her grades up and her head down. The last thing she wants is to wind up in a mafia war or to step on the toes of royalty. Her plan gets off to a rocky start when the mysterious man that almost kills her on the first day turns out to be Cain Green's eldest son. As far as she's concerned, Alex Corbo Green is a younger version of his billionaire father, a monster hiding behind a beautiful facade. Loneliness has been Ophelia's only dependable companion for years, but when anonymous threats and mysterious occurrences start to haunt her time at Sorrow Song University, she wonders if she could really survive there on her own. Between being paired for a project and ending up as each other's alibi for a murder, avoiding Alex becomes increasingly impossible. She begins to fall for the soft heart that hides behind his hard exterior. Tormented by a malicious stalker and growing closer to Alex, Ophelia's desperation for revenge wavers for the first time. Can she really bring herself to pull the trigger on Cain now that she knows it'll split his family in 2? I wasn't really going into this expecting to like it. I just was very intrigued by the fact that the male main character had 6 younger sisters, because I feel like guys that have sisters, they're different. You know what I mean? I don't know how else to explain it other than I can tell. I love the, protective big brother trope. And so I'm like, he has 6 younger sisters. That's so fun. I think I ended up rating it like 3.5 or 4 stars or something. I can't, with full confidence, rate this book higher than that because there is spice in this book. But the main focus of it was that Ophelia was trying to figure out this whole mystery behind her parents' death, and all of these mysterious things started happening to her. Like, she's trying to figure out who her stalker is and all this other kind of stuff. I did like their banter and stuff. It's kind of like that banter that has you like kicking and giggling because it's like so cute. Don't know that I would recommend because it is pretty heavy spice, and I just kind of skimmed through it and it was fine. Like, it didn't bother me too much. But I can't say that I would confidently recommend it to everybody because I know that everybody would not like it. So there is also language sprinkled throughout this book. It's not clean, okay? I wouldn't call it clean, but I still had a good time reading it, and I will probably read the next book when it comes out. So something that I really liked about this book was the descriptions of the Scottish countryside. It was beautiful. Like, I really loved the way the author portrayed the environment in which this story is set. The 8th book that I will be talking about today is Of Song in Darkness by Jessica Spruill. I bet that's it. Spruill. So the description for this book is: Poseidon has fallen. The world won't be far behind, unless she can stop the rising darkness. The world beneath the waves is in chaos. Without Poseidon to hold it at bay, dark water is slowly spreading, devouring anything it touches. Even the mighty King Manta has given up hope. But his daughter hasn't. Rhea, the siren princess of Aquarius, will do anything to save her world, even if it means hunting down the mythical Medusa and partnering with a notorious pirate captain. Black-hearted Kai has more dangerous secrets than Rhea can fathom. He'd rather kill her than help her save her people. She knows he can't be trusted, but knowing that doesn't stop her from needing him or wanting him. With the survival of the seven seas hanging in the balance, can Rhea and Kai overcome their hatred and work together when it matters most? Or are they destined to share Poseidon's dark fate? So I read this book because Reese put on her Instagram story that it reminded her of the kind of...
Get away!
We're fine now. As I was saying, I read this book because Reese put on her story that it reminded her of the kind of banter between the two main characters as was in Powerless, the Powerless series. And I was immediately like, oh, sign me up. The male main character's name is also Kai. So I was like, okay. I didn't quite get the impression that it was comparable to Powerless, but I still enjoyed it. I will say, I think I enjoyed the first 3/4 of the book more. And then it feels like the last quarter of the book, it was just like everything was happening all at the same time, and it just felt a little bit chaotic. I also sometimes was very annoyed with some of the things that the male main character would say to the female character. I found some of his comments a little bit off-putting, and one line that is forever seared in my memory is a line about his meaty hand grabbing her ankle. I don't know that I liked any of the descriptions of him after that, because all I could think of was his meaty hand grabbing her ankle. It's not a good visual. I'm going to put my Goodreads review up here, and we're going to move on. The last book that I will be talking about today is called Dear America, Notes of an Undocumented Citizen by Jose Antonio Vargas. I don't necessarily agree with everything that the author says, but I do really respect his perspective because he is coming at this as someone who has lived most of his life as an undocumented citizen. And just hearing all the nuances of that was really insightful to me. The write-up description for this is: Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Jose Antonio Vargas, called the most famous undocumented immigrant in America, tackles one of the defining issues of our time in this explosive and deeply personal call to arms. This is not a book about the politics of immigration. This book, at its core, is not about immigration at all. This book is about homelessness, not in a traditional sense, but in the unsettled, unmoored psychological state that undocumented immigrants like myself find ourselves in. This book is about lying and being forced to lie to get by, about passing as an American and as a contributing citizen, about families keeping them together and having to make new ones when you can't. This book is about constantly hiding from the government and, in the process, hiding from ourselves. This book is about what it means to not have a home. After 25 years of living illegally in a country that does not consider me one of its own, this book is the closest thing I have to freedom. I feel like it is very insightful simply because immigration is a very hot topic kind of issue that's happening right now. And people seem to have very polarizing opinions. Like, you're either in this ditch or you're in this ditch. And this book really, I think, would help someone who's in a certain ditch come more to the middle and kind of have a more understanding sort of compassion towards people who are in situations like the author. And I don't think it can ever be a bad thing when your eyes are opened to a new perspective. People try to make this a black and white issue. Not skin color black and white, but they try to make it a right versus wrong issue. And sometimes, like in the situation that this guy was put in, sometimes it's not a black and white issue, and you have to look at the nuances and you have to look at the gray areas and examine those. And I feel like that's what a lot of people fail to do. I think that this book would be an interesting and insightful read for you if you have super, super strong opinions one way or the other regarding immigration. And like I said, I didn't agree with everything that the author said. You're not going to agree with everything the author said. But just gleaning through and just hearing his voice and hearing his perspective is insightful, you know? You don't have to agree with everything that he says in order to understand and come at it with a compassionate heart. You know what I mean? This is a nonfiction. This is more of a memoir, and I'm not rating nonfiction memoirs, but I think I would recommend it. That is the last book on my list today. I feel really good about this video, other than the 5 minutes of footage that I got that didn't have my mic plugged in, and there were cars driving by, and it's probably really loud. But anyway, hopefully it wasn't too distracting. Hopefully you think it was still good. Thanks for listening to me just yap about all the books that I read over the course of the last 3 months. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, or whatever other time of day it is for you. I'll see you next time. Bye.